I call to order Monday the 24th Stokes County Commissioner meeting. Can I get Sonia to have prayer for
I'll
us?
be glad to. If you'll stand, please, and bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, as we come to you today, we'd like to thank you for allowing us to be here today. We'd like to thank you for all your many blessings and for you to allow us to serve our constituents and be here to listen and make decisions that are hopefully and always in the best interest of the people we serve, Lord. We ask for your wisdom and your guidance in this meeting today and always, Lord. We ask for safe travel mercies for everyone on the way home today. And it's in Jesus' name that we ask these things. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Y'all sounded good. Amber, we got any public comments?
Yes, we take action to approve the agenda.
I'm sorry. I skipped right over it.
I make a motion we approve the agenda.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Now we're to public comments.
Tammy Bennett.
I thought there would be at least be another person ahead of me, but no.
You can get more and do a line dance if you want.
Okay, yeah, or maybe an exercise. So I just want to request the approval of the budget for 2025 and 26. I just want to appeal to that for the Senior Center Expanded Services. I teach 3 classes, or I instruct 3 classes, one at Pine Hall, Sandy Ridge, and Lawsonville. And I can say that a lot of these folks go to those classes. And I feel like it helps me. I'm thankful and grateful that I'm able to do this, and I appreciate all of the support. I'm just hoping that it can continue. And just thank you very much.
Thank you.
Susan Smart.
I'm also here for the expanded senior services. It's a great program, and I think it should continue. I think it's a good value. You're keeping seniors healthy and fit. We're the folks who pay taxes. We're the folks that vote. So it's a win-win for you guys. Because we do keep up with who votes for what. and we tell all of our friends. And we do tell all of our friends. But on the other hand, it keeps us healthy and keeps us off the Medicaid ranks, which is the single most expensive thing for any county. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Linda Lane.
I have nothing to say except I sure appreciate the senior citizen program in Stokes, Wanacay, Lawsonville, Francis County, and Sandy Ridge. I hope it continues even more and more.
Thank you.
That's all the public comments.
Okay. And plus it keeps y'all off the streets. Okay, we go to comments from the commissioners. We always start with ladies first.
Well, thank you. I'd just like to welcome everybody to our meeting and thank you for being here today in person. I think the volume of people who are here to support senior services and the expanded services for the senior center, I think the volume of people here speaks volumes about your interest in this subject. And as we know, Stokes is an aging county. A lot of our population is going to be over 50 soon, 60. I'm in that category now. The older I get, I think the more I appreciate what our county does offer for our senior citizens and the value that you all bring to our county. And so I hope and pray, I don't know what their budget's going to look like, but I do support anything we can do to expand senior services, because we do get a good value for the money, for sure. And it's making a difference in lots of people's lives, and I see that firsthand. So thank you for coming out and being here to support Paula and her team and Vicki and everybody. So we appreciate that. I know I'm surprised there's not more people here to talk about taxes and property taxes. And I'll briefly address that and save most of my comments probably for the next meeting when there might be more people here to talk about that. But as you know, we've looked at revenue neutral. We've looked at the property tax. We're just in a time in our country where we're seeing unprecedented property tax values all over the place because of the supply and demand issues. Is one thing driving the housing market right now. So it's kind of off the rails, and we understand that. And looking at some of our neighboring counties and what they're experiencing, you see some of the counties that do it every 8 years, and they're having like 70-75% increases, where we've gradually tried to do it every 4 years and gradually do it. If you do it every 8 years, yeah, that's pushing it down the road, but you're going to see an even greater impact at one time. So that's why we do it every 4 years, as most counties around us tend to do. However, my son lives in Germington and Forsyth County side, and they have like 60% increase in their property. So our neighboring counties are in a little worse shape than we are, but I know this is going to be hard for a lot of people on fixed income. So we're going to look at a revenue neutral tax rate, or somewhere in the middle, as we prepare this budget. Hopefully we can drop that tax rate back down some. So that's my goal anyway. And I'm one of 5 here, so we're all hoping, I think, to be able to do that. So thank you.
Okay, Wayne.
Well, it's great to see everybody on a beautiful day. It ain't snowing and it ain't cold, so it's another beautiful day. To be honest with you, I wasn't aware of the senior program, to be honest with you, and when I read through this and seen all this, I think it's a great program. I'm 65, so the more you stay active, the better off you are, the way I look at it. So I'm very supportive of this. Any way I can help, I'd be more glad to. Going back to what Commissioner Cox said on the taxes, I'm hoping that we all 5 can agree somewhere in the middle to help the citizens of this county with this big increase we've had. I pay taxes too, so I feel it too. I felt it. I seen it. So hopefully somewhere when we get together, get talking about this, especially budget time, we can help reduce this. Again, thank y'all for being here.
Brad?
Everybody, good to see everybody here. And like Wayne was saying, it's just a beautiful day outside. First of all, for you all, you got 150% support from me. You always have ever since I've come on the board. I think it's a wonderful thing. That's some of the good stuff that goes on in this county. And I can tell you without even, because we've been kind of looking at the budget for several months now, and you'll get my vote for your funding. If we can't find funding for y'all, then we got a problem with our quality of life here in Stokes County. So appreciate y'all's support coming here. I think that shows that you do participate in the county, and I think more people need to do that. I guess I'll go down the list in terms of taxes on the revaluation. It's all about market demand. Maybe we need to do a better job somehow in explaining the process that the tax department goes through and figuring out what the level or what the value is. So that's something that we'll take a look at in hindsight and try to maybe correct that. The second thing is that people are moving to Stokes County. I mean, I don't know. I know some people, they act like, you know, they're putting in subdivisions, and then people want to be shocked about how can, you know, that the value of houses are going up. I think that you can't have it both ways. You can't sit there and say, here come the subdivisions, and also not improve the infrastructure, and also not expect to have the values of homes go up. It just, it doesn't make sense to me. The other thing that kind of ties in with the all that are sitting in here and me is a lot of the people, it's still projected, it's, you know, 65 and older moving into Stokes County. So we've got to provide service to everybody. Whether, you know, naturally the school system, you know, healthcare, public safety, and the more people that move in, especially in the congested area, the more calls for service that's going to be there. The number one expense probably you have in terms, especially reoccurring expenses, is personnel. And we got to keep employees that are, especially, you know, with the emergency or the EMS, paramedics, they got certifications, a lot of training. And we want to do the best we can. We don't want to overpay our taxes, but at the same time, we've got to invest in our community. And I think that as we've already kind of started, we had strategic planning in January. And I think the manager's done an excellent job in the last couple meetings, showing kind of what the process is, and we've all had a chance to give our opinions of what the priorities are when it comes to budget. But there'll be more coming down, and I just want you to know that it's not an easy task to try to juggle. Do we have a quality of life, and do we have service, or do we just say, hey, we're going to collect taxes but not do anything with that taxes? And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're up.
You're looking at me. I'd like to also welcome all of our senior folks that are here tonight. Some famous person said, and I'm not sure who it was, that you could measure a nation by how they take care of their youth and their senior people. And I think that's very true. I remember, I think when Masonboro did that study for the school system on consolidation, they were gathering a lot of data and everything. And one of the things that they mentioned in that was that as we were looking at the school issues, that they picked up that we have a lot going on in the senior community, and that we really needed to be resourcing that and paying attention to the growth of the senior community, and which I say amen. I'm 72, so I think I'm one too. Last time I looked, but we do need to definitely do it. I'm going to definitely support the budget items that come in associated with what Paul and Vicki and all you guys are doing to make sure we do take care of our senior population. My second item, this is going to be a little more lengthy. I used to do a blog several years ago as a commissioner. Purpose of it was to express my opinions on political issues, and I tried to use it to educate folks on what we were doing in the county from the commissioners up here, and ended up with a couple of almost 3,000 people that were following it pretty close. But after we got elected, I let that drop off. Basically, it was really quite a lot of effort to do it, so recently I was thinking I'd still like to be able to do that, but the blogs have become somewhat antiquated. People are using podcasts and live stream this and everything else these days to get their information. So I was looking at this time that we have up here at each one of our meetings, and I thought I could really make much better use of my time if I sort of did a modified, reduced length version of the blogs I used to do. So I got the first one here today. You guys are the lucky ones to get to hear the first one. I'm gonna call it the No Spin Zone, Rick's No Spin Zone, I guess maybe, and try to have something that's pertinent, some substantive information for each one of the meetings that we have. And I'm gonna type it out like I did today and make it available to Amber so she can post it without having to try to figure out exactly what I said or didn't, just so she can post it exactly as presented in the minutes. So it'll be available to people afterwards if you're interested in following up. So I'm going to read this to you, and I promise it won't be as long as Jimmy Walker used to be for those old timers that are around. My old friend Jimmy Walker, he was, we enjoyed many meetings listening to him talk. But anyway, so I'll go ahead and go through it right quick and so we can get on with the rest of the meeting. I would like to start by mentioning an interesting point I heard the other day about Dr. Thomas Sowell. Most conservative political junkies are aware of the Stanford professor, Dr. Thomas Sowell, who is one of the great conservative authors, economists, and political commentators of all time. Oddly enough, in his early life, Dr. Sowell was a devout Marxist. When he was asked how he could have possibly converted from Marxism to being a capitalist conservative, he gave a one-word response: facts. F-A-C-T-S, facts. My reason for sharing Dr. Sowell's response is to emphasize the importance of facts in forming one's opinions, especially in political discourse at all levels of government. My approach has always been to get my facts directly from the person involved in any issue instead of from third parties who might have ulterior motives in describing a particular person or issue. Ulterior motives and twisting the facts to fit one's own narrative occurs far too often in politics, so beware of those with forked tongues. My reason for this short dissertation on Dr. Sowell is to try to minimize the influence of disinformation that is being put out on social media now just in front of the upcoming Republican Party elections at the Stokes County Republican Convention in March. The spin doctors are working full steam ahead at the Republican precinct meetings, which are currently being conducted prior to the county convention. A leading topic for them is the revaluation that has just been completed by the county. They are accusing myself and Commissioners Wood and Chandler of some type of diabolical scheme related to taxes associated with the revaluation, as if we haven't been doing revals at 4-year intervals for decades. Sometimes I think these people forget that the commissioners also pay property taxes too. County revaluations are normally conducted at either a 4 or 8 year intervals to ensure taxpayers are paying a fair and accurate amount of property tax based on the increases or the decreases in the value of their property. In Stokes County, we use the 4-year intervals to ensure the county is getting the correct amount of tax from our largest taxpayer, Duke Energy. Let me read to you a description from the UNC School of Government on the revenue neutral tax rate and how it works with periodic revaluations by county governments. As you will see from the next document, I'm going to read revenue neutral tax rates are somewhat complicated, so please consider the source when you hear someone explaining or possibly spinning information on revaluations and associated tax rates. Okay, this document I want to read to you is from a guy named Chris McLaughlin. He is at the, this was done in 2011, but the information hasn't changed. He is at the UNC School of Government. And this is the title of this is the revenue neutral tax rate. The revenue neutral tax rate is a bundle of contradictions. It is intended to make the property tax reappraisal and rate setting process more transparent, but instead it often muddies the waters. The rate is required to be calculated and published by local governments, but not actually be adopted for the coming fiscal year. If adopted, the rate is revenue neutral for the county as a whole, but not for individual taxpayers. In a nutshell, the revenue neutral rate is a complex, confusing, and unavoidable. Here are some tips to minimize problems associated with the revenue neutral tax rate and its usefulness. Okay, the next heading is, what is the revenue neutral tax rate and why does it exist? North Carolina General Statute 159-11E defines the revenue neutral tax rate and requires that it be included in the proposed budget submitted by the finance officer to the governing board for comparison purposes in reappraisal years. Counties, and therefore municipalities in those counties, must conduct reappraisals of real property at least every 8 years. Most counties are on a 4 or 8 year reappraisal cycle. When a reappraisal occurs, the tax base for the county and its municipalities changes because real property values are pegged back to the market value, or at least that's the goal. In normal economic times, the real property tax base increases after a reappraisal, usually between 20 and 40%, depending on how long it's been since the county's last appraisal. When the tax base changes, the local government would experience a change in revenue if the tax rate were to remain unchanged for the next fiscal year. The revenue neutral tax rate is intended to show the tax rate that would keep the local government's revenue neutral in the new tax base. Well, not exactly neutral. The statutory calculation increases the current year's revenue by the average annual growth rate experienced by the local government's tax base since the last appraisal. If the tax base increases due to the reappraisal, the revenue neutral tax rate will be lower than the current tax rate. If the tax base decreases due to reappraisal, the revenue tax rate will be greater than the current tax rate. How does the revenue neutral rate affect taxpayers? The revenue neutral rate must be published, but it need be adopted. If the local government adopts a tax rate greater than the revenue neutral tax rate, even if the new tax rate is lower than the current tax rate, then it effectively increases its revenue and increases the tax burden on its citizens. Taxpayers often have difficulty accepting the fact that their individual tax bills may increase even if the local government adopts the revenue neutral tax rate. The revenue neutral aspect of the revenue neutral tax rate refers to the aggregate tax burden for the entire jurisdiction, not the tax burden for individual taxpayers. If a taxpayer's real property appreciated in value more than did the local government's real property in the aggregate, then the taxpayer's tax bill will increase even if the revenue tax rate is adopted. The taxpayer's bill will also increase if the taxpayer's proportion of real property to personal property is greater than that for the jurisdiction as a whole. When real property market values are rising each year, a reappraisal effectively shifts more of the local government's tax burden from personal property, which is pegged to the market value every year, to real property, which lags behind market value in between the reappraisal years. As a result, adopting the revenue neutral tax rate will increase aggregate taxes on real property and decrease aggregate taxes on personal property. A taxpayer who owns only real property or real property and a low value personal property will experience a tax increase even if the revenue neutral tax rate is adopted. Budget and finance officials and tax officials facing reappraisal should take care to educate both the governing board and their taxpayers about what the revenue neutral tax rate is and what it isn't, which is what I'm trying to do today to some extent. Okay, getting back to the misinformation that I mentioned earlier that is being primarily directed at three of us up here. Someone sent me a social media post the other day that read, in part, and I'll quote, Rick Morris, Keith Woods, and Brad Chandler sent out a mailer when they ran for office promising lower taxes, new hospital, and better internet. They are now 3 for 3 in failing Stokes County. Let's examine these three charges individually. Number one, I can assure you that I never promised to lower taxes when I was running for office. The primary reason is that I don't have a crystal ball to see into the future, and I've given that response many times. I always said that I would always keep taxes as low as possible and only raise them as a last resort to fund required budget needs. I've also said that during the revaluation years, I would always reduce the tax rate as close as possible to revenue neutral, assuming property values were increasing and not decreasing. I think the tax message from the other two guys I ran with up here during our last campaign was also similar to mine. On issue number two, the hospital issue, I sure don't consider that a failure. The hospital is still open in Danbury, and our board issued a request for proposal and received a very promising proposal from the Novant Health System, which is being negotiated as we speak. Novant is one of the largest and most successful hospital systems in the country. And number three, last but not least, the internet. By any measure, the internet expansion with River Street has been a huge success. All you have to do is to see that is to watch the River Street presentation from our last commissioner meeting and look at the maps that were shown with the internet all over the county. The River Street program offers three options: in-ground fiber optic cable, fixed wireless, and a new option named Flexify, which uses cell signals. Maybe the best news about the River Street network is its superior performance at a cost of only $1.8 million of local taxpayer funds. All other funds came from federal or state grants and funds provided directly by River Street. The total program investment is up to $24+ million now. And with one more grant cycle, the River Street program should near completion for the entire county. In closing, I would just ask our voters to fact check carefully what you hear from various political factions and determine what the true facts are by going directly to the source and not those who have a political agenda they're pushing where they twist the facts to support their own narratives. The three examples I have described are illustrations of where that is being done. Hopefully, Stokes County citizens will continue to select well-qualified, forward-looking individuals to the elected positions in the political parties and local government boards, so the county does not slip back to the problems of the past that have left us with many of the challenges we are trying to address today. One last point, back to the revaluations, I should mention that even though a lot of these things have gone up a good bit, every citizen is allowed to appeal their revaluation if they think the tax office made a mistake or if they think there's something incorrect about the revaluation. You appeal through the tax department, and then it comes up to the commissioners if they don't resolve it there to what's called the ENR board. We have a number of ENR board meetings scheduled. The last one is on May 13th. So that's sort of like the deadline. If you do in fact want to go and get an explanation and challenge or appeal your findings, contact the tax department and they will do that, and then we will let it go through the appeal process as far as it needs to. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have.
Thanks. Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any comments for this meeting.
Where you got anything?
The only thing I was going to share is that the Parks and Rec Steering Committee we approved and created at the last board meeting. We didn't get enough applications in. They were still coming in when we were creating the agenda, so that'll be on the next commissioners meeting for discussion.
I'd like to welcome everybody here. At 73, pushing 74, I'm one of y'all. So you know where I stand. With that said, let's get on with the meeting, and I want to read the conflict of interest. Before moving further, does any board member have a conflict of interest with any of the items on the agenda for today, or one that might be perceived as a conflict of interest?
No.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Information agenda. Mr. Booker, you're up.
Well, thank you, board members, for having me on today. You've got a report in front of you, I think. I'll point out first that there's a typo in it. That should say second fiscal quarter, not third fiscal quarter. I was thinking about the quarter we're currently in, but the numbers are from October 1st through December. And there's another typo, 30th. It should be 31st. That missed my eye there. But anyway, our recording fees for the quarter were $59,083.75, and our excise tax collections $140,744, with total revenue for the quarter $199,827.75. Now, in years past, the recording fees always outpaced the excise tax collections, but it's been reversed in the last 4 to 5 years because home prices keep going up, and that's a tax imposed by the state on this purchase of property in the county, real property. You can see the deeds and the deeds of trust and all the other documents we recorded. No birth certificates for the quarter. I usually get a comment about birth certificates. That's because Life Bright doesn't deliver babies. If we have a birth certificate, typically it's a home birth. But 94 death certificates, there's the marriage license, 65, and the copies and so forth. The state monies collected from the office, which is by statute, totaled $79,795.60. So for a net revenue for the quarter, $119,920.15. Since we finished 2024 just a few short weeks ago, I'll give you a kind of a review of the calendar year of 2024. Total revenue for the calendar year was $775,649.85. That's gross revenue, which is almost a 20% increase over 2023. 12,558 transactions, a total of 6,257 land records indexed, which is comparable to the year before that. 223 maps recorded, 162 oaths of office to notary publics administered, certified vital record copies, and vital records is defined as marriage license, death certificates, birth certificates. 3,179 copies issued. 390 through a portal that we have on our website called Get Certificate Now, which is almost 13% of the total. So that's something that's been added in the last 4 or 5 years, and that's a major convenience to folks who don't live in the area, who were born here or got married here. They can request those copies through that portal. 2,241 of those copies issued were death certificate copies, which one of the major folks we work with are the funeral homes who order all those copies for the families once someone's lost a loved one. We did record 7 birth certificates in 2024, which is comparable to the year before. We usually have a dozen or less. 408 death certificates. We issued 253 marriage licenses in 2024. That number's gone up over the last 5 or 6 years as the wedding venues in this area has increased. So have the marriage license, and folks still believe it's not law anymore, but that you have to get your license wherever you're getting married, which is not the case. Don't tell folks that though, because maybe they won't be, because we get a lot of out of county folks coming here to get married because of the nice venues we have. But I will say to the folks who are from here who are planning on getting married somewhere else, you can get married. You can get your license from me, and there's not a waiting period. There's not a long line usually for marriage license, so we usually get ours pretty quickly. You don't have to make an appointment. A lot of our surrounding counties, they require an appointment. We recorded 7 military discharges, filed 62 new assumed business names, and our electronic recording percentage was 80%. So only 20% is coming through the mail or in person. Updates through the office over the last year. One personnel change. We had a young lady who had been working for us for a little under 2 years. She had a new child with one already in the household, and child care is an issue, so she had to leave us, and we got a wonderful new employee added in November this past year. And we've got a terrific team. I told them this morning I hope they all stay another 20 years. One of them probably won't. She'll be retiring, but I'd like for them all to stay as long as they can. They're wonderful, and it'd be hard to do what I do without them. The marriage link, I did work with IT and so forth to get a link. Speaking of those venues, get a link to their website, to our website, so that people can view directly the requirements needed to get a marriage license. A lot of folks don't know, and they end up asking the wedding venue owners, and they don't know. Some do, some don't. And anyway, I've sent out a lot of those to the local venues in emails and so forth, and I haven't heard any feedback if anyone's using the link or not. In August, we hosted our second annual genealogy workshop. Great attendance. I plan on doing that again this August. Commissioner Wood's been threatening to come, but he's not come yet, so I've been waiting on that. But if you have roots here in the county, we'll help you find them. I work with the Danbury Library, and the Genealogical Association in Rockingham and Stokes County also helps me put that together every year. I'm going to be issuing a press release as soon as I can, but we have a website called stokesmarriages.org. And it is a portal to digitally submit your marriage license application. And our vendor is working on getting that link to me to link it to the county website. They haven't gotten it to me yet, but they are working on it. It should be hopefully this week. But the website is live and folks can use it. But we haven't gotten everything quite linked together from the county site to this site in order to do that. They could go to the site directly if they wanted to. But how it works is they complete the information digitally and submit it digitally, and we receive it in our software. And so when they come in the office, they still require by statute to personally appear to get the license. All they have to do is fill out a couple more small pieces of paper, and they can get it. It cuts from the surrounding counties who are using it or something similar. It cuts the marriage license issuance time in half, so makes us a lot more efficient, and folks can get on with whatever they have to do that day. A lot of folks take off work to come get their license. So hopefully that'll be up and running this week, if not very soon thereafter. I think that's about all I have. Thank you.
Any questions?
Good report. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Do you have a date in August for that workshop?
Not yet. It'll be in August. I don't know.
It'll be when I'm on vacation.
It'll be when Keith goes on vacation.
Day or weekend?
It's always a Saturday.
I'll get with you on my vacation.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be one of the Saturdays. The first year we did it was the last Saturday, I think, and then this past year I think it was the first Saturday. It's just August seems to be a good time for everyone who's been involved as of yet. And last year, some of the leadership in the Genealogical Society were going to be out of the country. And so we had it toward the end of the month, so we had the first of the month. So it kind of depends on their availability. I'm coordinating with about 3 different groups. So we'll get together in the next month or two and get a date. And my next report period here, I should have a date.
Also, would you explain what you're recording, assume business names?
Assume business
Said
names.
7 of them.
We had 7 military discharges. We had 62 new assumed business names.
What's it?
And the calendar year. For the calendar year 24, yes.
What does that mean exactly? What are they recording?
An assumed business name is when a business does business as any other name than exactly what they have registered with the state. So if you have an LLC, I always use Duke Energy as an example. Their official name with the Secretary of State is Duke Energy Incorporated, and a lot of their cards just say Duke Energy. They just drop the I and C. So it's an assumed name. It's not exactly the name they've got registered with the state, and vice versa. I mean, there's other businesses that they'll have LLC or incorporated or something else at the end of it, and they'll drop it and just put the name, the main part of the name on the business card and their ads and stuff like that, and promotional materials. And so if you do business as, the form is basically a DBA, which people know it as a DBA, and then the state calls them an assumed business name. Sole proprietors basically start theirs like that, and they file the assumed business name with us, and then our software vendor that we work with, they remit all the new recordings to the Secretary of State, and they maintain a database of every single business recorded in the state. And the purpose of that is to find out who owns the business, and if you want to get in touch with those folks, and the state Secretary of State's database is the way to go to find those folks. And that was the purpose. They sunsetted all assumed business names filed before 2017, December 1st, 2017, when they created this new database. And so, that was through 2022. So that was the expiration. So after 2022, if you had an assumed business name on file with the state or with our office, and then the business was registered with the state, you had to file a new one. And we put a notice in the tax bills 2 years ago, and I got a lot of new filings, so they knew that their businesses were going to lapse if they didn't file that name back, and that helped a lot of folks out. But that's essentially what assumed business name is. It's a DBA.
Okay, got it. That's all I have.
Anything else? Good job.
Thank you very much.
Now we have Paula Hall will present Senior Center Expansion Services Update.
Reba Dotson's
Paula, before
gonna.
you start,
Yes, sir.
Reba has been left out since this meeting started, and she's a superstar too.
I've asked her to come up
That's
here
awesome.
with
I
me.
really appreciate
When
you
you
doing
get
that.
one of us, you get both of us. Mr. Chair, commissioners, county staff, thank y'all for welcoming us here. It was important for us to come back to you, and we felt it important to give you an update about where Stokes County Senior Center Expanded Services are now that it's fully a Stokes County funded program. So as you can see by the many faces behind us, it's important to a lot of people. And we want to tell you what we're doing. We want to share the good news. So, Amber's.
You should be able to go to the next slide.
Okay.
Is it on?
Hold on, did I just turn it off? Here we go. Okay. So, what have we been doing since October when the grant period, as just to remind you, the grant period ended at the end of last September, and we continued in October with programming. And how that changed is we are now operating at 5 remote sites in the county. The one that we elected to drop was the one at Oak Grove Baptist Church. It's 7 miles from Pine Hall. So we really wanted to consolidate that and really focus on these 5 areas of the county. What we're providing. Currently, we're providing a minimum of 2 exercise classes at each of these 5 sites. I believe Danbury has 3. We did take a short break over the holidays in providing some of those extra special classes like cultural arts and presentations, and we're going to be bringing those back. But as you see, this was a recent photo, but these are the classes that we're offering: senior fitness, line dance, yoga, sit and fit, ready, set, go, gentle yoga, and cardio drumming. They have choices in what classes they're participating in. We're still building interest in cardio drumming. We'd like to see that one grow. I would like to share, we love that class so much that now we're offering it in King. I had 20 folks there this morning every Monday. Reba is doing it at Walnut Cove Senior Center. A lady came in my office right when I was leaving to come here, and she came from upstairs, and she came down specifically to thank me for this class because she says, you know, I do it because I can sit. She's not a regular class participant. She is now, and she says, I'm starting to stand up a little bit. She goes, but my doctor tells me that it's doing something good for me, and thank you. It's the best activity I've done. So we're still growing interest in that. Hope to continue growing it. The folks that are participating love it. We also, saying what I said about that cardio drumming class, I added this one because this one is important, particularly as people age, that we really are intentional about creating activities for people of all abilities. So even someone who needs assistance that may have mobility issues, we try to provide options for them so that everyone is included in those classes. We have recently brought back cultural arts. We have several things upcoming, which I'll talk about in just a minute. One of the things, I put this up here, and you all are aware, Stokes County Fair does have a Senior Citizens Day, and that day is hosted in King, but it's for all senior adults. And by the way, seniors are defined for us as 55 and older. So
I'm on board, Tom.
I got to join this one.
But one of the beautiful things about these expanded services is really an avenue to connect seniors across the county. And this last September, when we hosted that fair day, the American Legion hosted it at the King Senior Center, is it brought seniors from all over the county to an event where they got to share in fun activities. And this right here just represents some of those folks that came. These are a couple of upcoming presentations. When I said that we're bringing some things back, we're working with Vicki East, who is managing the budget, and Reba and I are working real closely with her in terms of the budget so that we can continue bringing some of these programs. And we're also working with community partners. One of the community partners that we are very supportive of all of our senior center activities is Stokes Cooperative Extension. We're soon to be starting a Matter of Balance class in March up in Sandy Ridge. I've already had about 6, 7, 8 people email me every day saying, hey, sign us up. It's an 8-week evidence-based fall prevention class that reduces the risk of falling and also reduces the fear of falling. Richard Brim, Brandon Hooker, and Tori Mabe are going to be coming for a presentation in Lawsonville at the end of April, where we're going to have a potluck lunch. We often like to have opportunities for presentations that share information that impact older adults. So these 3 have always been good friends of ours and have always done a spectacular job in sharing information that seniors need. We're bringing back an Easter ceramics class in Sandy Ridge, popular barn quilt painting by request in Pine Hall. And then we also have some other presentations with Cooperative Extension coming up in Pine Hall, Francisco. And Lift is also coming. We're currently finishing up that class in King. That is an evidence-based strength building class. So we lose muscle mass as we age, and there's an evidence-based series that addresses that, and we're excited about these programs. Technology. So what I wanted to say about this is that in recent weeks, I've been sharing that Reba and I, not to replace the remote sites, but to supplement it, because we know that a lot of seniors can't get to our brick and mortar sites. And sometimes illness, injury, travel, those things can impact your ability to participate. King now has technology that we can pretty much make any presentation or activity virtual by request, and we do it in a safe way. It's not broad. You have to give us your email, and it's a closed thing so that we know who is viewing it. And so we promote that, and we want participants to know that if they have access to the internet or a cell phone or a tablet or computer, that they can, by request, plug into some presentations and other things that we have going on in King. And along the same channel, we also shared that Reba does a Facebook Live cooking class I think it's every Tuesday. And so some of those folks have also been engaging with that. So that is just one thing that I wanted you to be aware of that is important. So we're giving them a buffet of activities. This one is important. So several weeks ago, I included in my weekly email, we do continue to send out weekly emails to our expanded services sites. I didn't want to inundate you all with statistics and numbers and surveys, and I will tell you, the one thing that older adults are really good at is giving you feedback. We know on a daily basis what we're doing well. We know what we need to improve on. But I wanted to hear from them specifically, how are these things impacting you? I want to know, I don't care about the numbers. I want to hear your stories. This right here was the first one that came back to me, and I'm going to read it because it's important. And I will say that what is said in this paragraph could be echoed by a lot of the people sitting out here. And Carolyn Wood said this: I'm 76-year-old retired public school teacher. I have participated in Sit and Fit at Sandy Ridge since classes began in September of 24. It has changed my whole life. I've met and got to know people in my community that I've lived in for 34 years. There is wonderful fellowship together. My diabetes medicine has been cut in half. My A1C, a measure of how I control blood sugar, has dropped to average. My gout medication has been cut in half, as has a diuretic I take to control water retention. My back has stopped hurting. My arthritic hands have stopped aching. I feel more alive than I have in years. I now have added an additional class for exercise on Fridays. This program has been an absolute blessing. Please, please, do not let it end. Since October, we've had over 100 folks that have participated in these classes that we've been providing. We would love to see more. They would love to see more. And we came here today just to respectfully ask that you all continue to think about the impact that we're making and continue to support it. And we really come here to thank you for valuing older adults in Stokes County. Thank you.
Don't run off, we got questions.
I really don't have any questions. It was very thorough and a lot of information, and good to see that you're having such good response to all the programs, and really good to see that people can access it virtually as well. Some of the things you're doing, that's huge too. So, because I know some people are shut in and can't always get out, especially in the weather we've been having lately, but that's wonderful. Just keep up the good work. Fully support it.
Oh, I do too, absolutely, 100%. It's great to see what you got going on. It's like a great program. And what I really liked about the best part is you said people from all over the county coming together. That's what we need. We need to unite together as a county, everybody. And in the pictures, I saw a guy from Pine Hall and I saw a guy from King, and I know both of them. And that's really great to see in this county. Y'all just keep up the good work.
I would just say put Carolyn's testimonial in your budget request. No relationship that I know.
Right there.
I haven't seen, we encourage everybody here to do really good justifications to help us decide what we fund and what we don't fund, and I haven't seen one much better than that, so.
I agree.
Great, and that was good, super presentation. Thanks.
Your program is very successful. Another thing that stands out is that you don't let it go stagnant, that you're continually trying to improve. And I think that has the definitely the recipe of, we're going to continue to fund successful programs. So thank you, and keep it going, and we'll do our part to help you do your part. Thank you.
Couple of questions. One of our conversations last year, you were worried about not making it with what funds was approved. How's that looking?
I would have to defer that to Vicki East.
Vicki, have you got enough money to get through the year, the fiscal year?
I can give you a breakdown of that, which I can
No, just as long as you're okay with it.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Don't want you running out of money.
We're good, and we're gonna, like she said, we're gonna continue to add some more programs, and I am working on my budget to be submitted in this month. So we're gonna be requesting, funding for next year, so we're good.
Y'all are doing a great job to reiterate what Wayne said. What impresses me more than anything is everybody in the county working together. Paula is not on the county's payroll. She's on King City's payroll. But that didn't stop her from finding grants and sharing it with the whole county. So my hat's off. Y'all do a heck of a job. And one last question. What was that crazy game they were playing when we were running?
Mahjong.
Mahjong, okay.
They are eager to take that on the road. So you may be seeing Mahjong come to one of these remote sites sometime in the future.
We had about 14 to 15 people. She invited us to King to take questions from the seniors. And somehow we got on the topic where people were from. And the mayor was there too. Me and Paul are only two true people out of 15 that are from Stokes County their whole lives. The mayor's from Virginia. Rick's, you said Kernersville. I mean, we found that, and the rest of everybody was from everywhere. I mean, Pennsylvania, seemed like somebody said Texas, and so that's what's going on in Stokes County. They're not living here all their lives as much as they're coming here to finish their lives. So, anyway, great job.
Thank you.
I know why Brandon and Richard and Tori come to the potluck. I know why that's about. Cause they got to look out there. I'm sure there's some fine food right there. So I'm sure they're not gonna miss that part.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Make sure you tell everybody that watches on YouTube that's not side effects of people applauding. Y'all the only group that's ever applauded us when we've had a
They were applauding Paula.
Hey, you take it when you can get it.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to have the Northwest Regional Library update.
Thank you all for all that you're doing. It's really inspiring. Thank you. And it's wonderful to hear about all the intersections of so so many communities in Stokes County and all the activities too. This is such a great group of folks, and we appreciate all your support for them as well as your past support for the libraries too. That's a very hard act to follow. I'm not going to even try to keep up with it, but we have the great team here of the librarians from Stokes County, Christine Bowles from Walnut Cove, Gretchen Parker from King, and Lisa Lawless from Danbury with the bookmobile that's outside if anybody wants to see it. I think that we sent out a few things ahead of time, and we have so much paper here. I'm sorry. We will try a PowerPoint. There are yet more to see. These are even more. We've got even more, right? All the paper for you here today. Really, what we just want to do is just give you a quick update of what's been going on with the libraries. And I think what you passed around are some things directly from King. Is that right?
As well as the Writers' Roadshow for Stokes.
And the Writers' Roadshow. Okay, so you got a lot of paper to shuffle, and this is much more safe and green here to do this. But you do have these things. I hope you'll take them home and read them. The thing I'm Joan Sheriff. I'm the director of the Northwestern Regional Library, and it's good to see all of you again. It's very nice to see you, and look forward to meeting with you soon with Amber. And our region is 4 counties: Stokes, Surrey, Allegheny, and Yadkin. We have 13 branches. 3 are in Stokes County. They're near and dear to all of our hearts. We appreciate all the support that you all give for the really good libraries in Stokes County and for all that they do. So that is our purpose today, but just wanted to give you a little snapshot here on this page. Looks like this, and it says Stokes County. And this is just a summary of some measurements from the fiscal year last year. Yeah, Amber sent that with you all. It's and basically, you know, people wonder if libraries are still being used anymore. Is it all online? Everybody has a device. Well, we know that people use libraries for so many reasons, including places for people, just like the senior center. There's a lot of work of libraries and seniors for sure, and children. But just to give you a snapshot of some of the really good figures here, the library visits last year were up almost 7%. Which is good. The patrons, and that's the number of registered people with cards, was up 16.54%, which is good. Our programs, and again, these are programs similar to the senior center, and some for seniors and some for children and some for people in between. They were up almost 24%. The transactions, which are questions, you know, people coming and come to the library and ask things, whether they're about technology or reference or jobs or careers or how to use my computer, they were up almost 31%. So they're coming to the library to find out things, and the attendance was up almost 5%. So we're really glad to see that, and again, we appreciate the funding to make it possible, as well as the great job that these ladies do and their staffs too. So, and if you've not had a chance to get around them all yet, I don't know whether you have or not, but we hope you will. We'd love to give you the big tour. And make sure you have a library card. Of all the things you have there, and I hope all of you have library cards, and all of you too. This brochure, we did some, with some of our ARP funds, our board had wanted us to do some marketing, just so people know that we have libraries. And you may have noticed the signs outside. All 3 libraries have these colors and logos, and we have T-shirts and the whole 9 yards that were through the ARP funds to try to let people know that there is a library, because we all assume everybody knows, but we know everybody doesn't. So these brochures are informational. Our logo here is "We are here for you," and we are here for you. It lists where all the libraries are. You can see a picture of the library card. I'm sure some of you have one. If not, please come by. It's real easy to get one. You can use that library card at any libraries in our regional system, the 13, but also 70% of the public libraries in North Carolina, including Forsyth County, because we're all part of NC Cardinal. It's a big consortium of shared database and information. So there's more bang for the buck there. So we're really glad to be able to do that. In the middle section, those online resources, we know how important is the face-to-face services are, and we love that, and we are a place. But we also know so many people are online that libraries are just like anything else, like the virtual programs that are going on at the Senior Center, to be able to offer resources and information to people online. So we have our NC Cardinal. There are over 7 million items available at no cost to somebody in Stokes County who wants to borrow something from 3/4 of the state. We're really glad to be part of that. NC Live, which is a great, rich resources, a reliable databases. We hope if you've not had a chance to look into those, you will, because we all know how important the reliable part is. NC Kids is specifically for children K through middle school, and it's downloadable books and all sorts of things that are just great. We do have a consortium with Appalachian Region. We partner with anybody we can with Appalachian Region, which is Wilkes, Watauga, and Ashe County, to share ebooks too. And again, that lowers the price for everybody. So all the people in 7 counties have access to the same things. We also have some new services this year, and we're really glad to roll those out. And the response has been great from the public. One is News Bank, and that allows for research of world news, to search newspapers and archives from local, state, regional, and national. So we know that the Winston-Salem Journal, I think, is, at least for the libraries, it's $900 a year. You can come to the library without a paywall and use it, as well as Fayetteville or Raleigh or any other newspaper you'd want to look at. And it does include the Stokes News. So that's good. The Heritage Hub has obituaries and death notices. I want to make sure that, whoops, I am so sorry. I broke your technology. I'm so sorry. Nothing like, thank you, sir. Make sure that Brandon knows about that, and any of you interested in genealogy, because we all know that's a great resource to look for records, and also the history room at the Danbury Library too, and we work real closely with Brendan with that. It's got great resources with Stokes County history. He is on the Danbury board. We're really glad about that and really want to work with him with all these workshops. And the last thing is Hoopla, which is wildly popular. We started working on this a couple years ago, and we got funding, including from you all, for this. We divided it with all 13 libraries, so it's cheaper than everybody having to pay for it themselves. And it is ebooks and audiobooks and movies and TVs and music and just all in one. A lot of good access. So of course we have children's story time and summer learning. We have programs for seniors. We have job assistance, maker spaces, STEM things. We try to respond to what the people in the county need, the schools, the seniors, the young people, and people in between. And then lastly, on the back, we've got our map of where we all are here. We have a courier that runs around to all 13 libraries every day. It's about 175 miles round trip. So you may see the courier coming through here. It's a Ford Transit with these colors on it. So if you see it, say hello. They're very friendly and they always like to wave at people. So that's kind of what we have today. I know that I'm just the opener. These are the big shows here, because you all know them and you know what they do in Stokes County. We are so glad to be part of it, to be able to support it, to be able to work with you. We're here. If you have any suggestions, please let us know, or any questions. We'll be more than glad to help you find answers. Okay? So Gretchen, you want to go first? Sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's really good to see you during the daytime. I'm usually here in the evenings to watch, so thank you for having us. Just a couple of quick upcoming events that we've got going on at the King Public Library. Kind of an overarching theme, actually not just for the King Library, but for all of our counties, is that we are going to be participating in a program called North Star, where we are going to get certified to help to be digital navigators. And I've been lucky enough to partner with Paula to do a digital presentation in the past, so I look forward to doing that again in the future. We have a partnership with Forsyth Tech yes.
That's a region-wide thing, and we have a grant through the state library to do that.
Yes.
To train all staff. We're really excited about that.
No, absolutely, thank you. We do have a job lab at the King Library. They see about 6 people a week. Sometimes they're duplicates, sometimes they're new people coming in. They get help with resume writing, learning how to search for jobs, anything that they need help with. Lynn and Cindy are great HR personnel that point them in the right direction. The growth in Stokes County has, of course, been shown at all 3 of our libraries. I am sure I can speak for each of these ladies. That our library card distribution is rising exponentially. I want to say King alone probably had 1,000 new card holders just since January of last year. With some of the fun stuff we've got coming up, the acrylic and watercolor painting classes are always going really well. We're going to be starting a meditation hour on the third Thursdays of the month with a gentleman that is, I think, also looking to partner with Paula, named Jay Furman. We have teen nights. We've got a Scholastic Book Fair coming up, our annual Spring Book and Rummage Sale. The Writers Roadshow, which you have some of the papers of, all three of us are partnering to host an author from North Carolina, Dale Neal. He is going to be doing a writer's workshop in Danbury, as well as an author talk at the Arts Place on April 7th.
And again, I don't know whether any of you got this Yak Valley Living magazine, but the whole thing's in here, and it is for the 4 counties too. So we have authors all over the place, and we're glad to get with the Arts Place.
Let's see. Thank you, Joan. Another partnership that we are looking forward to is with the state parks. Last year, Robin, please forgive me for her pronouncing her last name, Riddlebarger, I want to say, approached us, and each of the libraries is going to have park passes to check out to our citizens that can open up the swim fees, the boat rentals, and it's not just for here at Hanging Rock, but also across the state. So it could also take care of dock fees down at the beach if you like to go fishing off the coast. And then, of course, we have our summer learning program coming up that'll be full of science, magic, music, puppets, and so much more. Something for everybody from birth to seniors. So I will hand this off to one of my other compatriots here who would like to go next. Christine? Sit back down.
It ties in with all the senior things that we've been discussing with very bad knees thanks to many years of tennis and riding very young horses, probably when I should not have been, but I did anyway. So anyway, I would like to just start off first. When I come to these meetings, I always try and find something that to kind of bring everybody together in this county. So this worked out perfectly because I have many of our Walnut Cove patrons here. Also with the seniors, we have Miss Reba here who we work very closely with as far as programs and everything. And it was kind of funny a couple of years ago because Reba had so many classes going on. The book club called one day from the senior center and they said, "Can we come down there to the library to meet? There's so much going on up here. We need a quiet place to meet." So we worked together with them, and just Reba has been just excellent in working with her. Vicki has helped us out tremendously. I was able to meet Paula today, so I was very thankful for that. But just to give you kind of a quick rundown, of course, we are doing the North Star. I'm very excited about that because we do have a tremendous amount of people who come into the library who are trying to improve their job skills and also be able to just improve their lives as a whole. And we think North Star is going to be something that's very helpful with that. And with our River Street project that is throughout the county, all that's going to tie in together because then they can come in, work with us, and then they'll be able to go back home, use that internet that is now in their home, and be able to just improve their lives, improve their incomes, improve helping their families. So it's all about this partnership of everyone working together, as everyone has said today. So that is a big goal of ours right now. Gretchen mentioned the Hanging Rock passes. We are super excited about those again. I would love to be able to check one out myself this year, but anytime I wanted to, they were all checked out. So, and plus we have a couple of our customers in Walnut Cove who are considering purchasing 2 passes for us to have some extras. So that will be a good thing. I might hoard one of those just so I can have one for a week. But we have started watercolor classes. I never in my life thought so many people would be so interested in watercolor. Our assistant branch manager, Chelsea Russell, and I should have brought some of the examples today, but they are all on Facebook, I promise. But she teaches 2 classes during the month she has 40 people each month sign up, 20 per class, because that's all we have the room for. And then also she goes to Reba's Senior Center here in Walnut Cove and teaches a class. Usually the average is, what, about 10, Reba? Yep, okay, so, and then she does that. So that's something we have added this year in trying to expand our services. Of course, we pretty much have our summer reading program planned out and ready to go. With the Color Our World theme this year, we are trying to incorporate music, pottery, storytelling, balloon twisting. Also, we're going to have Friends of the Stokes Shelter come down this year and do a program for us. And more of that community working together. We're going to do a food drive and a supply drive for Friends of the Stokes Shelter, because I know they are always in need of supplies. So we're going to do that. We're also going to do a sketching class. So there's going to be a wide variety of things. But the thing I'm most excited about, I've tried to keep it a secret, but I just cannot any longer. Taylor Vaden, I'm sure everyone is very familiar with him, who does the Elvis impersonation and does just a wonderful job. He is coming to do a program for us this summer. I'm not sure where in the world we're going to put everyone once word really does get out about this, but I think it's going to be one of our biggest programs ever. And he was very gracious in taking time to come and do this for us, so we are super excited about that. I'm just very excited about our numbers going up. I know during Library Card Sign-Up Month, which is in September, we had 87 people who were able to either register or get a replacement card. And the great thing about that, your replacement card normally any other time of the year would cost you $2. During September, it's free. So we had a lot of people come in with that. I will wrap up because, as y'all know, I will stand up here and talk about these wonderful libraries that we have all day long. I actually went to the library. I've been out for a little while with surgery and everything, and had to run in today and grab some information to bring up for y'all, the rack cards and everything that you have. And I ran into a family who has just moved to our area. They are over on Camp Caradale Road in the RV campground that is there. They have moved in to work with the Duke Energy projects that are going on, which we see a lot of families come into Walnut Cove that do that. And when I was pulling in the parking lot and I saw a Suburban come in, saw it had Missouri tags on it, so I figured it was an outside family coming in. And the funny thing about it was, there was one child came out, another child came out, another child came out, another one. And the next thing I knew, they were all out of this Suburban. They are a family of 10 children. They are a blended family, so they're pulled together from two separate families, plus the dad and mom. Of course, Dad was at work, along with their 18-year-old son. He is also working there. So all the other kids, Mom comes in and she says, "Are we allowed to get a library card here because we live out of state?" And I thought, okay, this is, they've probably heard before, because a lot of libraries, you have to live within that town or county to be able to get a library card there. And that's countrywide. But she said that they had run into a lot of that and laughed, and she said, "We have post office boxes all over this country, so I could get around that for my children to have a library card." And I said, "Well, here, all you need to do is just, if you have a form of ID and just something to show, hey, you're over there in Camp Caradale on that road, we can give you cards." So as I was running out the door, my two staff members who were working, they were issuing 12 library cards today because Mom wanted them to have, each child to have one. Yes, they were homeschooled, which is great because that's something we encourage our families who are coming through, who are doing the work at the energy plant or anywhere else. Go ahead and get everyone a library card, because these Hoopla services, our Libby services, any of our online services, even if you move back home, say to Missouri or Texas. All you need to do is call us and we can update that card for you, and you still have access to those services. So it is very much so a win-win situation for the family and for us. They still have their services. We still have the patron numbers and people using our services. So it all goes back to helping each other. I think that's something that everyone, our senior services, our libraries, everyone on this board, we all need to work together to have that community feeling and community relations to where everyone is working together. So I will stop with that because I will just keep going. So I do appreciate y'all's time. It's great to see everyone.
Just one quick
Yes.
comment.
Yes.
Just that I was in a meeting about a month ago near the library at Walnut Cove.
Yes.
And so it was like a pretty steady stream of cars coming in, and people getting out of cars and young children. And so at the end of my meeting, I'd ask someone, school was in session.
Right.
I drove by all the schools coming from the north end, and I said, man, it's a lot of kids that are there. And then anyway, what they told me is those were people that are being homeschooled.
Yes.
And I thought that was pretty impressive. It appears they come regularly.
Yes, a lot of our homeschool families, they try and come during the school hours when school is in session, so that they are not bombarding us even in the afternoons, which is great for us. We welcome anyone at any time. So, but yes, we do have a lot of homeschool families that come in, and they will come in and do their work. They use our computers. We get our Chromebooks out for them. It's whatever they need during that time they are there.
And
So
that's part of the community.
Yes,
I think
it is.
That's great that our libraries, do that.
But we have so many groups come in using our meeting rooms. It's very rare that one of those meeting rooms is quiet. So, and I love to see it. I mean, I am born and raised in Stokes County. The library that I now manage is the library I grew up in. So that's.
Have you got our state magazine this month yet?
No, ours has not come yet.
Walnut Cove is featured. Yes.
Yes, I have got to definitely.
Good article in there
I'm
about
trying to find one to be able to buy it because ours.
When I finish reading mine, I'll bring it back.
That would be wonderful, Keith. We would sure take it. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Okay.
Hey y'all.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm Lisa. I'm the librarian just down the hill. If you took a running start and jumped over the trees, you would land on our roof. So we're right here at you. I don't want to throw a bunch of numbers out because I know you've heard a lot of numbers today, but I did want to tell you about one of our patrons that passed away. I met Ralph Massey. Some of you may know him. He lives down my way, Brad Torn Francisco, the way we go. He was a military guy, 26 years in the Navy. He played football at North Stokes, and he just had the most amazing stories you could imagine. But the reason I mention him is because in his obituary, it gave his name, it gave the date that he was born, and then it says, before it even mentions football or 26 years in the Navy, it says, he developed a love for reading and a thirst for knowledge at a very early age when the bookmobile visited his home in rural Stokes County. We still have the bookmobile. It's based here in Danbury Library. We're just a little small country library, but the bookmobile makes us special. We go around, it's just so interesting that we're doing the whole senior thing because we go to the senior center also and do programs. And on Valentine's Day, Amy, our bookmobile driver, took some goodies over to the folks that live on the second floor at LifeBrite. She took a hot pink book cart. It used to be this ugly gold, but we painted it bright hot pink. And she filled it up with books, free books, and just rolled it up and down the halls, letting people get what they wanted, and they had candy. And she comes back and she's like, "Can you believe 2 of those people had never had cotton candy?" And so I just thought, wow, how strange to have never had cotton candy. And they were just so amazed. It melted away, and it was just a really neat story. I will tell you a couple numbers. Amy on our bookmobile, she makes over 120 stops throughout the month. And that's not people, because some of the places she goes, there's more than one. It could be a husband and a wife, or it could be family with kids, it could be the senior center. And our bookmobile, we are very grateful that it is still running. It has 93,834 miles on it, and we hope it lasts much, much longer. But thank you for your continued support of the bookmobile and for your support of the folks at Life Bright Hospital too, because we serve them and we feel really, really strong about being able to help them. But thank you.
Did you have any questions for any of the rest of us?
Anybody?
I was going to ask what the condition of the bookmobile truck was, but she sort of.
He was going to ask the condition,
I'm
but you.
hard of hearing, so you're going to have to.
But you answered it. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
And I want to thank you, Danbury. Sorry. Lisa. You're saving me money by finding books for my. She's on to some author, and most times she just says order it from Amazon. But now she's coming to you, and it's making my life easier.
But again, there's 7 million items in the state, so most people can find what they want.
And y'all have found it. I mean, she had to wait a while, but it come.
I don't know if any of y'all saw the bookmobile on your way in. I know Sonia did.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to tour it. But we're hoping that y'all would see it. And how many it was?
I just wanted to mention there was some work done recently on the bookmobile. The county maintenance folks do a good job.
Okay.
And it's a little over what we had in the budget, but we used our fund balance to repair it.
I was really impressed with the bookmobile. First time I'd seen it.
Oh, is it the first time?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've seen
Was all of us
But inside of it.
Yeah, okay, good.
Very impressive. Very impressive. Yep. Thank you for all y'all do for the communities. I know I'm a regular. We have some overdue books. We won't talk about that.
As long as you bring them back. Really. People say, they'll see you and they'll just say, "Oh, I have overdue books." It's like, "I just bring them back." That's all.
If she don't, I got Joey's number.
Thank y'all.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you.
It's because the books are in Lawsonville at my niece's house, and I'm in King, and I can't quite get them to bring me my books. Like, take them to Danbury and just drop them
All
off.
right, that leads us to our discussion agenda, and Jeff is up.
All right, we're here again. And what I want to talk to you about here today is an update on where we are with the 5-year financial forecasting methodology that we've been building. You may recall we had a couple of things that we all agreed that we wanted to work on when we talked about this a couple weeks ago, so I wanted to give you an update on the results of that continued analysis. So this is what we intend to talk to you about today. A real quick review of the opportunities for improvement that you guys had identified as priorities during the retreat in January. I don't intend to go through that in detail, but I'll show it to you, and if there's something you want to re-engage on, then let me know, and we'll have the conversation. And then we'll update you on the revenue neutral tax rate and the inflation adjusted revenue neutral tax rate, now that we have split out the 4-cent school capital fund from what we showed you 2 weeks ago. And then show you what the results of that split out look like in terms of the 5-year financial forecast for both the general fund and the school capital fund, and then quickly review the way forward again.
And make note of that, Jeff. I'm glad you brought that up, because I've already seen a comment about it. The commissioners was trying to hide the 4-cent school tax. That's what I told you about, Commissioner Boyd. Let's separate it.
Yeah.
No, we're not trying to hide the 4-cent school tax. I want everybody to understand that.
Be as transparent as possible.
Yes, sir.
Again, so these next several slides cover the priorities that you identified and the timing associated with those priorities over the next 5-year horizon. And so, if I don't see a hand come up or something, I'm just going to go on to the next slide.
Yeah, just to clarify, the arrows mean that's a recurring expense, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Is it that exact amount for each of those years, or
Well,
would
I
it be a
mean,
different
for
number?
planning purposes, yes. I'm sure it won't work out exactly that way.
Okay.
And you know, these are really at this point placeholders. You know, and what we'll put in for example, the budget in 2026. But you know, we're actually gonna have to go out and negotiate contracts for some of these things. So.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Just wanted to double check.
Okay.
I was hoping it was something else, but I knew it wasn't.
Staffing
You was hoping it
impacts.
went down.
Again, 3 positions were identified for inclusion in the 2026 budget and 2 more in the 2027 budget. And then these are the major capital replacements that we talked about back in January as well. Okay.
The thing I want to really discuss more is whether we finance or pay for that animal shelter.
I'm sorry,
As we get further into the.
I said that we will talk about that. This is not capital. These are valuations that are going to be built into our plan for the next, our operating plan for the next 5 years. More evaluations, and then these are the capital items. Okay. Okay. So what the major things that we did since we talked to you 2 weeks ago are, as mentioned before, we pulled that 4-cent fund out of the overall look so that we can look at the health of that fund separately, and we'll review that. We did learn some things as a result of pulling that out that we were otherwise masked by the fact that those two funds were combined in one overall look. But conversely, what we did was we pulled the MOE fund, the school current expense fund, and the Title 19 fund into the general fund. And that's an accounting change that we intend to make going forward, starting with this year's budget, to kind of simplify matters and stop all of this double accounting, to having to pull funds from one fund to the next to the other to go pay the bill. So we've incorporated that in. The other thing we found was that there was pretty close to $2 million in fund balance that we weren't otherwise really tracking that were residing in those 3 funds that we can now take advantage of in the kind of pooled in the general fund.
Combining them, is that what you're doing? Combining the 3 of them together into one fund?
Combining them into the general fund.
Oh, okay.
And then what we did was we did go back and look at whether or not we could do a cash financing on the animal shelter instead of what was previously proposed, which was debt financing, and we found it to be viable. So that's you're going to see what that looks like in this iteration of the 5-year financial forecast. And then we also updated the 2026 COLA to reflect the actual calendar year 2024 CPI in accordance with the policy that you enacted back in November. All right. So this is an update to the slide that we showed you 2 weeks ago, and it's really intended to show you what the results are when we split the 2 funds, right? Because we talked about a revenue neutral tax rate for the combined tax rate. Right now our combined tax rate is 71 cents or 67 cents that goes to the general fund and 4 cents that go to the school capital fund. And so we showed you a version of this that was, reflective of the changes that would be suggested for the combined tax rate. But what we're showing you here now is what the results would be if we look at each fund independently. And so when we go back and do the math on what the revenue neutral tax rate is for the general fund, it's 54.1 cents. And when we do the inflation adjustment on that, it's 60.58 cents. And as we've talked about previously, we want to fall somewhere in between that. Lower is better, based on the needs that we have. And then just as a recap, while we've calculated the revenue neutral tax rate for the 4-cent school capital fund, the guidance we got from you 2 weeks ago was to keep it pegged at 4 cents going forward. Any questions on this? Okay.
I agree with doing that to capital needs of the school system. Definitely justify keeping it 4.
All right, so this is the updated 5-year financial forecast for the general fund. All right, so previously that was set at 67 cents for a tax rate, and you see, we were able to make this all balance out and work out at 57.5 cents. So this is in line with what you saw 2 weeks ago, when it was, we were suggesting a combined rate of 61.5 cents would pay all the bills. And so 57.5 plus 4 is 61.5. So it's the same net result. I was kind of concerned that once we split these out, it might call for a slightly higher proposed tax rate in the general fund. I was glad to see that that didn't happen. As we mentioned 2 weeks ago, we're still working on permits and fees and sales and services to update those in a comprehensive manner, and the degree to which we recommend and you approve changes to that may also impact the tax rate. Probably won't drive the tax rate up, but it might drive the tax rate down based on the scope and magnitude of those changes that we can agree on. All right, so this is a continuation of that same model, and so what you can see now here is what the results are in terms of fund balance and our debt service and operating margin, and that all looks pretty good. I mentioned before that by bringing those other 3 funds inside the general fund, we added about $2 million of fund balance to the equation, if you will, and as a result, the projected ending fund balance there and the percent of total percent of the fund balance, the fund balance as a percentage of our total budget has increased a little bit, and that's a much healthier look for us moving forward. And as you can see, debt service ratio there at the bottom is very healthy. Any questions?
If we finance the animal shelter, would that allow us to have a lower tax rate this year?
No. The results are very similar. What we saw was, and I didn't show that result here because I thought you had a desire to see this, but the results were substantially the same, and what it would have resulted in is, for example, on that percent of total budget on the fund balance line, it would have started out a little bit higher and ended up a little bit lower.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. So here's the 4-cent school capital fund. As I indicated before, you gave us the guidance 2 weeks ago to keep that pegged at 4 cents. And I mentioned, 2 weeks ago that I wasn't really certain how this was going to break out when we pulled these 2 funds apart, because I was concerned that one fund's health was maybe masking, some potential problems in the other, or vice versa. I actually thought it was going to work out the other way. I thought that the financial health here was masking maybe some challenges on the general fund side. I want it being the other way around. So what's built into this model, as we have discussed previously, is the opportunity to fund an elementary school in 2029 at the $50 million level. And you may recall that when we first talked about this concept back in January, I suggested that we were looking at maybe the capacity for $40 million, but I was hopeful that as we went through this, we might get to $50 million or more. I'm not real comfortable with what these numbers are showing us. I think that if you extrapolated this out another 5 years, you'd see that we would probably dip to a negative fund balance. So I don't think right now this is showing capacity for $50 million, and it looks to me like the break-even point is about $45 million, right? So now there are some ways that we can overcome that moving forward. One is we've talked about before is the grant opportunity. You know, we tried to do that this last year, and we're not successful. But if grant money comes available, it can bridge that gap. Alternately, we could increase the annual funding that we provide. If you look about a third of the way down that page, you see other financing sources of $911,000. Okay. Annually, we have historically committed to provide that funding coming from the general fund into this fund to help to finance these school capital needs. And so that this still shows that $911,000 being contributed annually. If we wanted to make this more healthy, you could decide to contribute more. Alternately, and I'm going to go back here, I talked about how the general fund was, fund balance was a little more healthy than we were showing 2 weeks ago when we had these two things combined. When you look at that residual fund balance percentage and fund balance in FY 2029 and 2030, there's capacity to use about $5 million for some other purpose right there. So that could pay that bill if you chose to do that in the future. That could get us from the 45 million to the 50 million. Alternately, we could just change the terms of the loan. Or this modeling assumes a 20-year loan at 5%, and we don't know. I can't look in the crystal ball and figure out what our actual interest rate is going to be when we contemplate something like this in 2029. But certainly, if we extended the term of the loan, then we could drive the annual costs down as well. All of that to say, I think it's okay to still leave that $50 million placeholder in our modeling, in our plan. Just recognizing that we may have to come to agreement in future years on how we're going to bridge that gap. Any questions?
How long can we do those loans for? Do y'all remember? USDA loans we can do 40 years, but
yeah,
these I don't think we can do that long.
I think what I've heard suggested is 10 to 30 years.
Or about 30, yes. Yeah. You could do it up to 30.
Okay. All right, so the next steps, we talked about this the last go-around as well, and I called attention to that item in red, the school budget request deadline. I have engaged Dr. Rice after our last meeting, and he confirms that right now they're on track for providing their budget request on roughly in accordance with that state mandated deadline. It'd be better. I communicated to him it'd be better if we can get it earlier, and he suggested he'd see what he can do, but no promises at this point. I think we're going to have to maybe take another look at this schedule, and I'm not sure if we can. If it comes on, for example, the 15th of May, I'm not sure we're going to be ready for that mid-May budget work session, and maybe not the public hearing on the budget. On May 27th. I certainly wouldn't be prepared to prepare the overall proposed budget on May 12th. Maybe I could do it without the school portion of that wrapped up at that time. So maybe that May 12th is more of an update pending school outcomes. And then we may have to push some of that out a little bit further.
Do you think that, I know it's too late this year for the schools, but in moving forward in like next year, that we can get them on board to get it to us earlier? Or is that like you said that's the state's deadline, the absolute last deadline time?
Yeah, that's what, I mean, the state says they have to deliver it to us by that date. And in my conversation with Dr. Rice, I mean, he did make the point that, you know, we're getting kind of late in the process right now. And so they hadn't been planning on providing it to us earlier. Maybe there's an opportunity. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it sounded like, you know, there may be an opportunity to come to an earlier agreement next year. That gives them plenty of time to ramp up to that.
Because I think I had mentioned before that generally we meet with the school board in a joint session to talk about their budget request, and they can, you know, make their case to us about certain items and things like that. And it's generally after the public hearing on our budget, which I've never really understood. You know, that seemed
backwards.
Yeah, I guess it's a pretty major component of our general fund budget.
Yes,
so
exactly. So if we could work on that for next year, especially, that would be helpful.
So what would you do if just propose your budget at the following meeting after May 12th, and then slip everything else a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, it gets kind of crunched there. I mean, I've got this lined up to, you know, potentially, you know, have you contemplate adopting the budget on June 9th for a reason. So if there's anything that, you know, last minute that comes up, we've got one more scheduled meeting to fall back on.
Well, lots of times in the past, we've had to have a special call meeting just to approve it.
Yeah, and most of them have been approved the last week in June previously.
Yeah.
So
Marathon.
you slip a little bit, it's not going to be a big deal, I don't think.
Alternately, I mean, we could actually present the proposed budget, you know, the complete proposed budget on May 27th, and do the public hearing on the same evening. It'd be better to have if the public has more time to marinate on the information before they come to provide input. But
I thought there had to be a 10-day window after you presented it before we could do the public hearing.
There is a 10-day window somewhere in there.
You may be right. I don't recall
I think
specifically.
there is, yeah. Because the public, I think they're supposed to get 10 days to look at it before they come to the public hearing, I believe. But you double check that.
Another option is to do the public hearing the same day you contemplate approving the budget.
What's the drop dead?
Lots of local government boards do approve the budget on the same day they do the public hearing. For other folks, suggest that they just like to have an opportunity to kind of digest what they heard from the public before adopting. But
yeah, and factor it in if necessary.
Yeah.
You certainly don't want to send any kind of signal that you're ignoring what they're telling you. That's for sure. I'll say may bring some very good points to us that we need to think about.
So basically, you're saying this could change.
Yeah, I'll bring back another recommendation to you when I've got a little more time to try to make sense of this. But okay. Any other questions or comments?
I think you're on the right track with everything. I don't think you gave us any bad news. And I think one bright spot is the fact that you said we can do this cash alternative for the animal shelter, which would definitely speed up the process of building this new animal shelter, which is badly needed. So I would love that if that was the case.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I mean, one of the points I should have made here is we'd like to get your concurrence right now to go ahead and pursue that. I mean, it's already in this year's budget. I'm sorry?
Yeah, we can concur.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we can start the, you know, major muscle movements on getting that project going, so that, you know, hopefully we can break ground by early this summer.
Is there going to be any requirement to update the proposal or anything? It's still good? Okay.
Okay, anything else? All right, thank you.
We don't need to vote on a motion or anything to give him the go ahead on that, or do we?
Need our
I do.
consensus. I think you have our consensus. We can formally do it if we need to.
You tell us,
First
Amber.
time about that, I don't know. One as good as the other. Okay. On the record.
Change your vote last minute, Rick. Lock you down.
Okay, the next item on the discussion agenda is the JCPC appointment, and Amber will present.
So, Tammy Martin and Jordan Boyette are currently serving on the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, and they can no longer continue serving. So they have picked two people from their respective organizations to fill those vacancies, and the JCPC approved the recommendations that we have before you tonight. Kayla Bohannon to serve as the Health Department designee in Tammy Martin's place, and then Lieutenant B.G. Haynes to serve as King PD's designee in Jordan Boyette's place. So we just need a motion to nominate those two individuals to serve on the JCPC.
I'll make a motion that we approve Kayla Bohannon and Lieutenant B.J. Haynes, King Police Department, to be the new JCPC members.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
And they'll sit for 2 weeks, and then we'll hold. Okay.
I'm running out of paper. We got one action agenda, and that's it. Do I hear a motion to the collector's retainer fee for?
I'll make a motion that we approve the collection retainer fee for the municipalities.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does anybody want to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.